What screams rich asshole? I was in a meeting with the medical director for my old company a few years back. He was telling a story how he refuses to put a front plate on his fancy sports car and would rather just pay the $200 fine every time he got written up for a ticket. At the time I was broke and taking a series of buses and trains to work. I made a comment one time that getting a Christmas tree was just too much effort. They asked why you just schedule an appointment. How hard is that? They bring the tree and set it up and do all the decorating for you. I'm sorry, what? This person had no idea that normal people do not just order a tree that is delivered and set up and decorated, and then taken away, every year. Oh dear God. I grew up in Dubai and boy did I come across some textbook rich assholes. The place I worked at had a fine for smoking in the toilet. One day I caught an Emirati customer smoking a pipe in there, because of course he was smoking a pipe. I told him he was going to be fined DHS.100, around $30. He looked at me, laughed and said, make the fine 10,000. That way at least it feels like a fine. So I did. Honorable mentions, Tiger in Bentley's diamond-studded anything gold-plated cars walking around a mall with an exotic cat who is clearly uncomfortable. Dubai. When an 18-year-old flashes his new house he bought with his own money in Instagram. Followed by, what have you guys been up to? My uncle, who was an incredibly successful heart surgeon at the time, once took me to a show in downtown Austin. When we got to the venue, there was nowhere to park. He rolled up to an area that had yellow stripes everywhere and big no parking signs. I pointed out that we can't park there, but he just replied, nah, it just costs $400-something to park here. I do it all the time. They won't tow a porch. He was right, they didn't tow his car and just gave him a ticket. My sister works at a fancy private school, and she tells me rich asshole stories all the time. I think the worst though is this one student who is a foreign student that is literally a princess from a royal family in a country that I won't name for privacy reasons. But she demands that the staff address her as royalty, and demands students at the school be forced to treat her respectfully. My sister also told me that a trend has happened throughout the school where students will reference each other with royal monikers like Your Highness or My Lord to piss her off, because if everyone is addressed like royalty then in the end it means nothing anymore. I'm gonna buy this nice building that has meaning to my town just to destroy it and not do anything useful with it. Not paying your fucking staff. My boyfriend's ex-boss didn't pay my boyfriend, his only worker, for 6 months. Crying that clients weren't paying for their services, while he walked my boyfriend through his brand new, renovated kitchen. Fuck outta here with that shit. Having mommy and daddy throw enough money around to make problems go away and get what you wanted in the end. Guy I knew growing up, and then we ended up at same college. His dad was some bigwig real estate guy, mom was a heiress to well-known brand. He was very status conscious and knew he could always buy a way out of trouble. Always some shady, borderline illegal scheme to make more money. Usually so he could buy himself a Rolex or shit. Anyway, our university was pretty elite, but he wanted to go to the best in his area of study. So he planned to transfer. He got like a 3.98 GPA, couldn't buy off a PE teacher to get an A, but because he was an entitled jerk couldn't get professors willing to write letters of recommendation. So he forged one, mailed it out, but forgot postage, and got discovered when it went return to send to a professor who hadn't written it. His parents flew down, made a giant donation to our school, and the administration didn't inform his intended university of his stunt. He got in, he left our school, got his best degree and last I heard was working on Wall St. I'm always amazed he hasn't ended up in prison for some sort of white-collar shit. My friend went to a rich kid's school. Wasn't rich herself, got in on scholarship but she has the craziest spoiled rich kid stories. One of them is when she overheard a girl complaining about her family going to Italy for the summer because she wanted to go back to Spain. She was on the verge of tears about how she never gets what she wants. I have a doctor customer who owes me money. Man got the nerve to have 3 personal luxury vehicles, lives alone, but can't cut me a check when I come to service his house. A Canada Goose coat when you live in Florida. I'm totally not referencing anybody right now. Do you know who I am? No bitch, I don't and I don't care. GTFO. There's no punishment, I just pay $200 if I get caught. Police in London had a huge problem with this when super rich Arabs would come to London for the summer, and park their expensive supercars anywhere they liked, even if it wasn't legal or safe. Then when police or parking inspectors etc. came along and told them to move the car or be fined, they'd just casually pay a fine of hundreds of pounds on the spot and walk away. The police had to show them it was an actual crime before some of them stopped. When I had trouble paying for college, my aunt suggested I use financial aid and proceeds to tell me how they had to lie about their income and where their daughter was staying to get it. And on the application they listed her trip to the Bahamas as mission work. They laughed because their doctor couldn't even stand to look at those dirty children, but they wrote it up like she was teaching them the Bible. Had a rich guy ask me once what my favorite brand of water was. Great Value. The CEO of the non-profit hospital I work for won't give us a COVID bonus, but he got over a $4 million bonus. First thing that comes to mind is this: I was in middle school, and a group of kids were hanging out and I knew two of them, so I went to talk to them. Girl drops her phone intentionally. It was an iPhone 8, and at the time it was the newest thing. Brand new phone too. She threw it on the ground again on the linoleum floor. The phone screen cracked. After that I asked why she did that, because those are super expensive. She said it didn't matter because her mom would just buy her a new one. Whenever I hear Joel Osteen's name mentioned, wouldn't be surprised to hear he's raising pygmy camels and building giant needles. Just wait till you hear from my lawyer. Do you even know who my dad is? Do you know who I am? Do you know who my family is? Me. 2 nights ago, 3 assholes came in to eat at the restaurant I work at, more than an hour late for their reservation and roughly 75 minutes before we were legally required by the city to kick them out. COVID curfews are still in effect. If you get caught, you risk losing your liquor license. When we dropped the check and explained the situation, they screamed that it was unacceptable because they had spent as much money with us. Guess what? Other people spent more than you that same night, and they were on time. We're not interested in risking a whole business and a few dozen people's jobs because you can't tell time and think that the world is going to stop for you. Expecting special treatment by default, store employees, bars/clubs/restaurants, cutting to the front of lineups, being confused why someone doesn't just replace something that's getting worn, i.e. shoes, old phone models, gaming consoles, house repairs/decor. I used to do character birthday party gigs in law. Those who were middle class or less would always tip me too much, feed me too much, and I would meet everyone in their family. When I worked the elite in Beverly Hills or Pacific Palisades mansions, I would never meet the parents. They wouldn't be at the party. I would be wandering around the party as Darth Vader or Batman, mostly blind, asking people where the parents were so I could get paid and get going. Only for the butler to take me aside and hand me an envelope with exact change of how much they owed me. My cousin's wife, very rich, stayed at our house while she and my cousin were in town. She brought her dog with her. One day we went out to pick up some groceries and run some errands. She decided to stay home by herself. While we were out, her dog got sick in our house. When we got home, a few hours later, she calmly came downstairs and said, "Oh, while you were out the dog got sick," and she pointed at the spot, expecting us to clean it up for her. I can't imagine what her life was. Slushes like that led her to not immediately clean up her dog's own shit. Instead she just let it sit there for hours, stressing out waiting for the help. Ugh, haha. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law, we don't have any more money than you guys do, and we are able to save a lot. Also we had to pay $167,000 in taxes this year. How are you guys getting a refund? They obviously have way more money than us with that tax bill. OMG, my ex was full of them. Here's a few: always buying new clothes, shoes, or accessories compulsively because you should be willing to invest in your appearance at all times. Which I can agree with to an extent, but not in Burberry. He'd drop at least $5,000 per visit. Refusing to eat at a restaurant that is part of a chain and complaining to the people who are buying you dinner there about it. Making fun of the waitstaff too. Laughing at homeless people and thinking they're a joke. Making fun of people purely based on their attire or car they drive. There's a reason he's my ex now. Being rude to service workers. I had a rich friend in middle school. We would go to a Chick-fil-A after school and he was rude to the workers. I told him in cashier's earshot that the workers get to your food first. Who knows what they can do to it? Friend had a 180 turnaround to service workers after that.